We're now firmly in the age of photorealistic renders. Never have architects been able to create such perfect visualizations of their projects before construction. And yet this technology comes with its dangers, and marketeers eager to exaggerate angles can make buildings appear taller, greener, or more environmentally friendly than they really are. The temptation is only magnified in the age of social media, where a dramatic CGI image can easily make headlines around the world. So how accurate are these renders when compared with their final reality? And are we actually making huge emotive decisions about building, or misleading information? Architectural renders have come a long way. From Filippo Brunelleschi's introduction of linear perspective in 1415 to the axonometric drawings of the Bauhaus movement in the 1920s, architects have been evolving their renders for centuries, debating the best way to present to the public and to clients a building that only exists in their imagination. In the 2020s, we've settled on computer rendering, focusing less on the emotive response to a building, like the collages of the 1980s, and more on the physical reality of how that building will actually appear. And an emphasis on the hyperreal has led to some remarkably lifelike renders. San Francisco's tallest new building for decades was proposing to give the city its first super tall, dramatically changing its iconic skyline, all in one of the world's most seismically active regions. The public and sales force needed to be on board for both. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, this luxury apartment tower had to justify its price tag and show the public how elements of the historic Steinway Hall at its base would be respected and continued into the sky. Rising above the city's largest and oldest market, dating back to 1414, renders needed to show how this tower in Seoul would respect its site's history and breathe new life into the area. And Taiwan's biggest cultural investment for a generation had many stakeholders at its design stage, while Zaha Hadid's extension to Antwerp's Port Authority building was so dramatic that everyone needed to understand exactly what would be happening from the outset. But while each of these renders show the advancements made in computer imagery, countless others have been accused of exaggeration or have ultimately failed to live up to their real-life counterparts. Some impressions have deliberately distorted their buildings, using tricks like a wider lens or a dramatic perspective so that a skyscraper could appear more sculptural or taller than it actually is. Looking at this render, you'd be forgiven for thinking these twin towers in Canberra were among the tallest in the country. In reality, they're barely 100 metres high. In an arguably more dangerous phenomena dubbed greenwashing, some designers have also been known to add an excess of greenery to their buildings, decorating skyscrapers with outdoor trees on every floor. While some schemes like this have succeeded, in reality many of these so-called tree scrapers would be near impossible to create at those extents. Additional concrete and steel reinforcement are required to handle the extra weight of trees, while irrigation systems are needed to water the plants. Harsh winds at those heights can strip trees of their leaves and interrupt their photosynthetic processes. The people appearing in renders has also been a point of contention. Some critics have called out a lack of diversity or painful diversity box ticking, while others have pointed to unrealistic depictions meant solely to sell a building. Ultimately, the judgment on where the line between render and reality is drawn sits with those creating these images, the information they are briefed with, and the demands of their clients. Some will use outstanding technology tools to make their ideas startlingly tangible, while others will create their own reality. That's not the fault of the technology, which is developed to create images that are as true to real life as possible, but of the people using it. As architectural renders only get more realistic, there are certain tricks of the trade to be mindful of, and it's important to remember that a render isn't reality, no matter how close it looks. If you enjoyed this video and would like to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, subscribe to the B1M.